use the hawk or the falcon as a hunting tool, tapping into their amazing predatory instincts and using them to catch birds and animals for the table. So that in a nutshell is why falconry goes so far back in our human history. Now, at the time of the early Middle Ages, when the first of our Plantagenet kings sat on the throne, we saw falconry entering a new age of expansion and development here in England. It's the first time when royal hawking accounts were officially kept, giving us amazing detail about the royal pursuit of hunting and hawking. And of course, traditionally, falconry has always been associated with the monarchy, for this is a very expensive, very time-consuming, very complex art form that required money and land, servants, horses and dogs to be able to practice. So not a pursuit for the common or the working man. And as such, falconry and hawking were amongst two of the favourite pursuits of all of our medieval kings. Now there is one king who is very famously associated with this castle, and that of course is King John, who laid siege to this very site. King John is remembered as a particularly unpleasant and vain individual. But in fact, he was a very good administrator, not a bad military leader, but a very good falconer. And of all of the early Plantagenet kings, he spent the most amount of money on this pursuit compared to all of his brothers. His rather famous brother, Richard I, known as the Lionheart, was also a passionate falconer. He spent much of his time over in the Holy Lands, practicing falconry in the Asian style. And because of that, King John did not really want to follow in his footsteps. He decided not to hawk or hunt with the birds that his brother did. Instead, he favoured species that were more generally native to our own country.
Another bird. Yes, that's the seagull.
The bird you're watching in flight at the moment is a bird that all the medieval kings would have used, not necessarily for sport, but mainly for hunting for the table. For this was your everyday hunting bird, the powerful hawk, a big predatory bird that was very good at catching all sorts of feathered and furry game. They were necessary as part of the functioning of the medieval household. For when you had a lot of mouths to feed, you needed to catch and bring into the larder a lot of meat. Some of that could be reared, some of that could be caught by spear or net or bow and arrow, but a lot of it was caught by hawk, for that was one of the best methods of catching food. And yet King John did not favour the hawk very much. He saw it as a rather servile creature, a little lower in status than the lordly falcons that provided him with sport. And yet it is the hawk that will have brought to even his table many a delicacy that he enjoyed at banquets. Now we're flying for you this afternoon an American species of hawk, but a hawk is a hawk regardless of what country it comes from. A hawk is defined by the fact that it is a woodland bird, a tree dweller, a branching bird, which consequently can be easily flown to the fist. It's a bird that stays at low level because in the wild the things it hunts for occurs on the ground. So other than moving from one territory to another, the hawk does not need to go high in the sky, for her food is down here on the floor. For her size, she's one of the most powerful of all of the raptors. And we don't judge a bird's power by the size of its body or the length of its wings. That tells you very little about a bird of prey. Its power source lies exclusively in its feet. So when we choose a hunting bird, the feet are the first feature that we look at. The larger the feet, the more powerful that bird is. The larger the prey it can catch, the better it is going to fill your larder. And that is the hawk. So with a hawk of this size, an American bay-winged hawk, a female weighing just over 2 pounds, we can catch all sorts of fare, from rabbit and pheasant to duck, partridge and even hare. All the delicate meats that our ancestors liked to eat. And because of that, it was a great financial asset that brought a lot of prestige to your household. Now you've seen us exercising our hawk, doing some very simple A to B flights, which is what she's designed to do. And each time she comes back to her handler, she's getting a reward of food. Quite often, when people watch someone fly a bird, they imagine that there is a friendship, a bond, a loyalty between bird and man. If he were flying a parrot, that might be the case, but he's not. He's flying a bird of prey. And this is a solitary, non-intelligent, non-emotional creature. So you can't build a friendship with them. They will never be a pet, they will never like you, they will never love you, they will never choose to fly to you. You have to work with their instincts, and the only thing that governs their flight is the fact that they need to fly to find food. So a falconer trains his bird on a food basis. She's got to be keen for that food in the first place, which is why she would fly in the wild. And the falconer, of course, by offering her food, is presenting her with a very easy meal. So she has no regard for an individual human, other than, through her training, humans equal food. And therefore, a trained hawk will not only fly to her regular handler, she will fly to any handler that is familiar. Which is great for you lot, because it means that we can invite just a few of you out to have a flight of your own. And I wonder if that might be something that would be of interest. Now to do that, we not only need a hawk, we need a couple of gloves, which I've left in the tent, so I'm going to tootle off and get those, and then we'll pick ourselves a few volunteers.